All right, guys, we're live. It's Talking Preps. Last show of the season. I get my weekends back after this. I'm excited. I don't know if you guys are excited. I got my man Kevin Ligon, one of my oldest friends in the universe. I've known Kevin for, I don't know, 48 years. I'll be aging us if I say that. I know
Too
Kevin
late.
for a long time. But we're gonna talk about a project he's got going on in West Charlotte. We got the Mr. Basketball Award, Ms. Basketball Award. We're going to preview all the games. We're going to hear from the 4A coaches. We're going to debate regionals. We got a really, really special guest coming up later on. So it's going to be a fun show. Sir Muhammad from Mars Park is going to be on here, going to knock Randall off, knock out his undefeated, not undefeated, but his.
Nah, you had it right the first time. It's undefeated.
So you have
it's
ties.
undefeated.
You have ties. You have not lost, but you have
unbeaten.
Unbeaten. Thank you. Unbeaten. Unbeaten. So we'll be back on the flip side. All right, so we got Kevin Ligon on the show. Kevin is having a seminar for NIL education in West Charlotte on Saturday. Kevin, kind of tell the people why you decided to do this and why it's important.
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me and being part of the crew tonight. I enjoyed watching you guys all year, learning a lot. This weekend, we're having a seminar for parents, and basically it's NIL and NCAA for Smarties, because this is strictly for the parents, because a lot of the parents are really, really not educated in regards of the change that recruiting has taken. And we're trying to give them real-time information. We're fortunate to have best-selling author Ryan Shatner to participate and be our keynote speaker in regards to this subject matter. Ryan has established himself as a subject matter expert on NIL and pretty much is advising parents as well as colleges. A couple of his clients is the University of Georgia with back-to-back championships. He's working closely with Clemson and Richard Jurgen, who actually played. He has a book. Anthony Tolliver is one of the co-writers, as well as Roy Williams, not our Roy Williams, but Roy Williams that played with the Cowboys, defensive back in the day.
Oh, yeah, I know that Roy Williams well.
Yes. So, we felt like it was really, really important to try to update our high school parents of all sports. And this is just not for basketball or football, but the recruiting ground has changed, and pretty much we're trying to let parents know that you got to have kids be prepared, because they're not only competing against the kids in their class like it used to be, but now they're competing against college students, because it's easier to get a kid that is already used to being at the training table, has a physically fit body, understands the importance of a work ethic, versus getting a freshman that would come in and have to make those changes.
Kevin, what are kind of like the 2 or 3 things, or let's say 3 things parents need to know most as they try to navigate the new world of NIL?
I think one of the first things is that we have a lot of parents that are still sitting on offers. They may feel like an offer's too small, so they're waiting on the blue blood and thinking that, that they have a chance, instead of looking at the fact that you may have an offer to a smaller school, and those schools aren't waiting because you actually have kids that may be overshot going to a higher school and probably should have been at a mid-major or lower than that. Mm-hmm. So those scholarships that you get out of high school, you really have to look at it. I think it's trended over the years that players getting really late, maybe 10 years ago. And then I think it started, and you guys probably can tell me better. So I would say maybe 5 years ago, you start seeing kids taking offers, really, really right off the bat. Mm-hmm. That was before the NIL pretty much came in place. Sonny Vaccaro, one of my mentors, he really, really pushed for 30 years for NIL to come to play, because, NCAA and institutions were making a lot of money off the backs of the athletes, and now it's an even playing field. Yeah. You still got a lot of work to do in Title IX sports. I know Gary, being very, very familiar with women's basketball and the other women's sports, basically we have to look at how we can even the playing field and how we can educate parents into knowing that this is something that's really, really happening.
Rick, how do you think the NIL is going to change or is changing the landscape of college? And as it starts to trickle down into the high schools, I think it's like 9 states allow right now. How's it going to change the landscape of high schools?
Who was that question directed toward?
You, Richard.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear. I'm sorry. Well, it's going to. I think it's going to affect the players that mostly at the higher end, your high major prospects, more than the mid major and low major players. You have to take it in consideration because a lot of these kids now they're making their decision based on not only the school, but they're also basing their decision on the amount of money they may get in an NIL deal.
Alex, for the high school kid, if NIL was to come to North Carolina, would it be good for the sport or bad for the sport? Well, not the sport, but just the high schools in general.
I'm going to approach that question as a school and athletics administrator who is cognizant of the reality that there is little to nothing to do to mitigate reality. So that being said, it is a matter of how do we manage it most effectively. So that being said, the key is going to come in high school or education-based athletic setting versions of what Kevin is doing, extending that partnership into the schools, beginning at the state association level and cultivating partnerships through state associations and subsequently LEAs or local education agencies, so as to cultivate and proliferate an effective and optimized educational paradigm through these collaborations by which we can educate student athletes, parents and families, and educators throughout the school communities about the realities of NIL. One of the biggest challenges in the NIL landscape, and I can speak to this directly from my time as an athletics administrator, is the number of people in your school and greater communities who are unaware of the parameters governing NIL and thus the prevailing interscholastic athletics eligibility landscape. Education and establishing, cultivating, integrating, and proliferating an education paradigm for all of your stakeholders and constituents, student athletes and parents, educators, greater school communities, and making that a collaborative effort at the school, LEA, state association level is going to be imperative to navigate the landscape. The reality of the NIL is here. There's little to nothing that can be done to mitigate it. So let's collaborate, work together to optimize the integration of the NIL into education-based athletics to protect and create and expand meaningful, formative opportunities for the boys and girls of North Carolina.
Gary, would NIL be bad if I'm the star quarterback at Shelby and Bob's Barbecue wants to give me free meal and put a little money in my pocket? Is that bad, or is it bad or will the other kids that don't get Bob's Barbecue and a little money in their pocket feel a certain kind of way?
It depends on how mature the kids are. When you're working with high school kids, they believe in the concept of fairness. Everybody gets treated equally, and we know in the real world that's not the case. But when you try to be consistent as a coach in having the same expectations or demands on every player, but then every player doesn't get the same reward, that's hard for them to understand. It's like everybody has to be at practice, everybody has to be on time, but everybody's not going to get to play, and everybody's not going to get to score. And that's the same thing that they're going to have to learn with NIL. Yeah. Everybody's not going to get the same thing, though they may put in the same effort. It's not equal result. It may be more or less equal opportunity.
All right, Randall, before we move on, I'll give you the last word. You coach a lot of high-level basketball players, and I would think basketball more than any other sport probably be affected more by NIL because you have some really high-level kids in the state of North Carolina that could attract some pretty serious money. How will schools, kids, parents handle that if little Johnny's making 25, 30 grand from a Ford commercial or a shoe deal or, a restaurant, whatever it is.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to navigate, especially early on. Even at the collegiate level, there's certain teams where, you have one guy making X amount and another guy making X amount, and then another guy making a little bit less than those two, and it affects the team. So you have to be very careful, and you have to tread lightly with how we approach it. The good thing about it is you have some kids who, don't necessarily care or need it. But then you have some that really need it, and it could be super beneficial. So, you got two totally different ends of the spectrum. So it's going to be interesting, just that part of it, of trying to navigate through it and trying to make sure that it doesn't become more of a distraction and doesn't do more harm than good.
Yeah, well, Kevin, you got a real, sounds like something that can be really informative for parents. Tell people how they can take it, come join and get some education on this subject.
So basically, we'll be starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday, March 11th at West Charlotte at the new West Charlotte. We had an Eventbrite, but we closed it down, but we're going to open it back up just because of you, Langston. I'm going to do that for you. So the next 30 people, they email me at kevin@charlotteaces.com. Then we will allow them to register and they can participate. We have 30 slots that I'm going to let parents come in. It's for parents only because we're going to do another one later on in the year just for the kids, and it's going to be kid driven. We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about. We're talking about branding, social media, all of that stuff, and basically we're going to try to keep these kids informed because it's going to get to North Carolina eventually. We lost some of our top basketball players to just because of the NIL alone. So this is something that is going to have to even the playing field, but it's also impacting recruiting in a way that we've never seen before because now schools are using the NIL to recruit players from other schools. And it's so brand new that there's not really a way that we can harness this because, players get word that, hey, if you jump in the portal, we're going to pick you up and this is what we're going to offer you. So that's going to be a whole nother story. Maybe later on in the year, I can join you guys again and we can do an update and talk about that because as you see.
Now, it sounds like we can do a whole show on NIL, but again, hit Kevin up, kevin@charlotteaces.com, and you can get tickets to go to the event on Saturday at West Charlotte. I think it's a good thing, good community effort. Appreciate you, Kevin, for coming on, man. Best of luck, and definitely come back to the show, all right?
All right. You guys, y'all have a good one.
That's my man, Kevin Ligon. He's a long time friend of mine. Let me get Cameron on here so we can talk a little girls basketball and break down the girls playoffs. We're going to start with the 1A, if I can find it. Y'all know I'm never prepared. I'm notorious for that. All right, here we go. The girls 1A final, Chatham Charter and Bishop McGinnis. Cam, what can you tell us about this game?
Bishop McGinnis out of Kernersville. Sitting at 27-4. They've been on cruise control for the most part in the playoffs. They'll face a very talented Chatham Charter team. Has a very talented point guard in Tamaya Walden, who's averaging around 23 points per game. So I'd have Bishop McGinnis as the favorite in this one. But if Chatham Charter can tame Walden, it could go either way.
Bishop McGinnis is 10-0 in state finals, Randall. A little bit younger than Chatham Charter, but see anything, does experience matter? They're the defending champion.
I throw it out of the window when you get to this point in the season. I think, nerves will obviously play a role probably the first 3 or 4 minutes, but after that, you just settle in and play basketball the way you have all season. So, I know they're a little bit younger, but I don't think it really affects them in this situation.
So if we were doing our picks, who would you be picking?
I'd be going with Bishop McGinnis.
Bishop McGinnis, you going with the champs?
Going with the champs.
I didn't think you'd go against the grain. You were talking like you were going against the grain. That was just talk. All right, two-way final, Cam. We got one of 2 Rowan County teams in the state championship game. Salisbury playing C4. C4's boys basketball team, as Coach Lewis knows, has Jaron Stevenson.
Jaron Stevenson.
Top 20 player. The girls team looks like it's pretty good, Cam. What can you tell us here?
Yeah, both of these teams are extremely battle tested. C4's knocked out the last 2 rounds, the 1 seed and the 2 seed in the East. Salisbury just played a tough Shelby team, so I mean, both only have 3 losses, as you can see, so it's good. It's going to be a very solid game.
Any predictions, Ken?
I want to lean Salisbury, but I mean, having seen a little bit of Salisbury this year, I know how good they are. I haven't really seen much of Seaforth over the course of the season.
Yeah. Randall, Seaforth has 10 players that are freshmen and sophomores. I know Salisbury has Caleb Bryant, who's not listed on there, but she's one of the best players around.
Yeah.
And you better get Seaforth this year, right?
Yeah.
10 freshmen. I mean, the best 2 players are sophomores. You better get them now.
Yeah. I mean, you do got to get them now because they're bringing everybody back. You know, they're going to have everybody back. You know, the thing that's interesting about this Salisbury team is they don't mind guarding and defending, and they'll play ugly basketball.
Yeah, 3 games in the 40s. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're not trying to beat you in the 60s or the 70s. Like, they are more than content, like you said, playing games in the 40s. And I think in a game like this, that's where things can get rough. You know, if Seaforth hits a stretch where they miss a couple of shots in a row and they start to hang their head for a couple of minutes, you know, they're playing right into Salisbury's hands.
I think Salisbury's experience, having been to 6 finals and the tradition they have, they're going, like the screen says, 7 finals in 20 seasons. These girls may not have played in all of them, but they grew up watching other Hornet girls playing it. And I know the fan support they have is they will bring a massive crowd to Chapel Hills. I mean, Salisbury is a big-time program. I think Salisbury is going to win this year, but next year, better watch out for that Seaforth team. They're going to be a big problem. All right, Rand, I'm going to come to you and the 3A girls when I find the chart. We got unbeaten West Rowan out of Rowan County. We talked about Salisbury out of Rowan County. They're going to play Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount only lost to the 4A Eastern Regional finalist Hillside. So this to me is almost like a 30-0 team playing the 30-0 team. What do you see here?
This is the matchup that I circled. I felt like this is going to be the game of games. I think, you know, obviously there are going to be other games that we talk about, but I think this is the most intriguing matchup we have on either side, boys or girls, just for the fact that, like we said, you know, both these teams have combined 1 loss. You know, they have veteran leadership on both sides. They've been here before. Obviously, you know, West Rowan, with the streak that they've been on this season, you know, they've been rolling. But the only difference is, you know, you don't know how they're going to do offensively when you talk about, you know, their 2 stars in Lauren and Demaya. You know, how will they lead this team offensively is kind of going to be the key. But I think this is going to be a very, very intriguing matchup. And this is just one of those games where it's like you tell your team, you know, it's going to be a 12-round fight. Like, if we lose a round, you can't get too down on yourself because there's going to be a lot of peaks and valleys in this game for sure.
Rocky Mount's not in that area, Randall and Rick. I know we talk about naming Freshman of the Year in our All-Observer Awards, but goodness gracious, Kira Jones would be up for the Observer Area Freshman of the Year. Those are some incredible numbers. Cam, you saw West Rowan Saturday. How impressed were you with them?
I was just impressed with their resiliency because they got up to a big lead in the first quarter. You know, East Lincoln, a team that was previously unbeaten, came all the way back, took a slight halftime lead, but then West Rowan really had a big third quarter. They have a really good freshman point guard, Tiara Thompson, I believe is her name. You know, she didn't have too much to say after the game. You know, she's just a freshman. She's a little quiet, but I mean, she just led the team with good composure. Didn't have many turnovers. So I think, I would pick West Rowan in this game.
All right. Well, before we get to the 4A game, we had a chance to talk to both coaches of the 4A teams. They got a big matchup coming up with Panther Creek and Lake Norman. Panther Creek and Lake Norman both in their first state finals. Lake Norman's undefeated.
With this group, when did you know that, hey, we can do something really special here?
Oh, gosh. With the players that we have and just the group we had last year, we knew that we could do some special stuff last year. We had Allie Woodkowski, we had Madison Saunders, we had some big pieces then, but we also had a group of 5 freshmen. And we knew that once they got a little experience under their belt, got some varsity playing time, we're able to just develop under our system and what we really try to do. They showed some good things last year. And so really, I would say this year when we went over to NC State team camp in the summer and we played some incredible competition, we played Cardinal Gibbons and we played Sarah Strong's AAU team, and we were able to hang with her and win a lot of the games that we played there. And so that's when us as a coaching staff really took a look. We're like, we have a chance to be really, really special this year.
All right. So my follow-up question is like, what game was it when you looked at it and you were like, we got a chance to run the table here?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably in our preseason scrimmages when we went over to Providence Day and we played Legacy. And everybody leading up to that was talking about how, hey, this Legacy team, they're legit, man. And so I was like, oh gosh, so we were a little nervous to play them. And we went in there and we hung with them the whole time and ended up winning that game. And so I would say that was about the time that we were like, we're good, and I think we might be a little bit better than we anticipated being. So I would say that would be the game that was like, all right, well, we got a chance to do something really special this year.
Well, Coach, first off, congratulations, and just talk to us a little bit about your team this year and how things have progressed for you guys during the season.
We brought everybody back from a team that lost by 1 in the Elite Eight last year. I knew this year we had a good chance to be really special. We have start 2 seniors and 3 juniors and tried to kind of build our schedule to prepare us to get where we hoped we would be. And that's, playing Saturday.
Well, Coach, you guys are 28-4, won 20 in a row, and you haven't had many close games down the stretch. So when you go into the game against Lake Norman for the 4A state championship, what's the mindset and what do you tell the team as far as the competition from Lake Norman being undefeated?
Yeah, Lake Norman brings a great squad. Their point guard's tough. They've got 4 great shooters around her as well. And, we're going to do what we do. We played in the She Got game early in December, again, hoping to help prep us for this run. So we've seen some good point guards. We've seen some good shooters. And I think we're going to stick to our game plan and, do what we do that's brought us here. We're not going to change a whole lot this year or this week. We're going to break down some film. We're going to, lock in on some things that Lake Norman does. But ultimately, we're going to do what got us here.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this game. Alex, you've seen Panther Creek. What did they present as a challenge to Lake Norman?
Panther Creek is a very formidable team. We all know about Taylor Barner. I'm going to go on the record right now and say that the X factor in this game is going to be power forward center Kirsten Smalls. She's right at 6 feet tall, and she's had quite a winter. In addition to being a starter on a state finalist team, she won the 4A indoor track and field high jump state championship. Wow. She's a junior and should be in position for Division I opportunities in basketball and track and field. The thing that was most impressive about her on Saturday was her ability to control the boards and create second and third chance scoring opportunities for her team. She's Panther Creek's leading rebounder, right at about 8 per game. She scores about 8 per game on average. She had 16 in the regional championship win over Hillside, but beyond those 16 points, created a lot of second and third scoring opportunities for her teammates. After rebounding, showed her ability to be an effective passer from the interior, finding open players on the 3-point line and on the perimeter to create opportunities. So if Panther Creek can control the boards, what it did in terms of creating second and third scoring chances against Hillside, if they can do that again against Lake Norman with the leadership of the likes of Kirsten Smalls inside, then the Catamount should be in good shape.
The key to this game, Lake Norman's not a big team. I think Kirsten may be their leading rebounder, but you got to handle their pressure. And if you can't handle their pressure and they speed you up, you can be in a world of trouble. This Panther Creek team, though, unlike a lot of teams I actually see from Wake County, has played a really, really tough schedule. They played a lot of national teams. They've only lost once to a North Carolina team. They lost to Apex Friendship, and they came back and beat them by almost 40. This team's ready, right? They're ready to do this.
Absolutely. If you remember, Apex Friendship was last year's 4A state finalist.
Yes.
That conference is absolutely wicked with the likes of Panther Creek, Apex Friendship, and Panther Creek was tested in the first round of this year's state playoffs by Green Level, another conference rival,
right,
who was in the mix last year and in the mix again this year, and it's tough to line up against the team 4 times. So Panther Creek is very battle tested per its own conference and some of the other teams that it saw in non-conference competition, and then having to go through a very, very formidable Hillside opponent like the Catamounts did on Saturday, and showing that they could play and win a game where they didn't shoot the lights out or anything, and Hillside was able to take away a lot of half-court three-point shooting opportunities, but the ability of Panther Creek to control the boards, create second and third scoring opportunities, and go from there will give them a chance always.
Yeah. Gary, you've seen a lot of Lake Norman. They're in the big game. You've been thinking all along they get there. What do you think is going to happen when they get to Chapel Hill playing that big gym for the first time?
I don't think it will have an effect. You know, I think we kind of text Saturday. I think it was Rick I was texting with about the size of the court. And Providence had a college-sized court. And I don't think that will affect them. You know, both teams have to play in the same gym with the same backdrop. They have found a way to win playing various styles. Man, zone, fast, slow. Kristen has seen all kind of defenses. You know, zone, man, boxing one.
If I was coaching against her, she'd see double team, especially in the fourth quarter. She's not going to beat me. Sorry.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said I would be double teaming her. She's not going to beat me in the fourth quarter. Somebody else is going to beat me.
Yeah, that's easier said than done.
She was doing the curly kneel on Saturday. I'm sorry.
It's easier said than done.
Gary, no.
She was doing the curly kneel on Saturday.
Yeah.
You got to take the ball out of there. I'm sorry.
Got to.
Yeah, that's the goal of every team they play, to get it out.
No, but you got to try. You got to see.
No, it's not the goal of every team, because some teams didn't try it. I'm not letting some people.
I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not trying to tell Danielle Sullivan what to do, but I'm saying if it's close at the end, she's going to take the game over.
You got to deny her, but where she gets teams is offensive rebounding. Yeah. That's where she makes her bread and butter. She's already after the ball as soon as she lets it go.
Well, Gary, not to interrupt you, but while I got you on your rant, today a certain all-district team came out, and Miss Kirsten Lewis was ranked 13. So she's got another game to play after seeing this. She's going to be seeing fire.
Oh, yeah. This, not to discredit the kids that made first team, but it's a travesty for her not to be first team all district. I mean, to me, she's first team all state.
Yeah.
So she definitely got to be first team all district. But like I was telling you before the show, what tends to happen is they send out ballots to all the coaches around the state, and these ballots are collected. At least when I was coaching, they're collected prior to the postseason, conference tournaments, state playoffs. And so the votes have already been tallied, and her numbers have jumped off the page since conference tournament play started, as well as the fact that some coaches don't turn in their ballots in time.
Cam, wasn't she like player of the week like 9 times this year or something? Am I missing something?
9 or 10. I mean, it was crazy.
I hear what you're saying, Gary, but I looked through this list, and like Zamariah was player of the year, and all the players I would have thought were player of the year. I'm not saying she had to be player of the year. I love Kate Sears, and we've had her on the show. She's a great player. She can shoot the crap out of the basketball. I just was surprised that Kirsten wasn't on here, and I saw there's like 1,000 members, and you have to be a member to vote. And I don't know what happens, but I just think that she'll use this as motivation. All great people got to find motivation in something, and I think she'll use that as motivation on Saturday. I mean, do you agree with that or not, Gary?
Oh yeah, they look for things, to get them motivated. They create things, kind of like Michael Jordan used to do.
Absolutely.
But he didn't speak to me, so now I got to drop 40 on him. Well, you were going to drop 40 on him anyway. But it just little things that they look for to motivate themselves. But they don't need any more motivation other than picking up that trophy on Saturday.
What I think is really cool is they got that billboard on 77 with
that's awesome.
With their team picture on it, and they switched from like regional to state championship bound. And I think this is going to be a great game. I think Panther Creek's going to have a big crowd. I think Lake Norman's going to bring a big crowd, and me and Alex are going to get there on time. Alex, we got to be there on time.
We'll be there.
I got to see this one from the beginning. All right, we'll be right back after this break. We're going to have Sir Muhammad knock out Randall in the game show. All right, sir, I can't see you, man, but I see you. There he is.
Yeah.
What's going on, sir?
Not too much. Yeah.
I meant that sarcastically. I meant like sir, like I would say anybody, sir, not sir like your name.
Oh my God. Don't laugh at that, sir.
Man, how does it feel to go to the state finals? I know you guys have heard, ever since you've been there, you haven't been to state finals, you've been to Elite Eight, and you couldn't get over the hump. What was it like getting over the hump this year and then going to the state championship game?
It's just exciting. Like, I don't want to say surprising, but it just felt really good. Just been a lot of years at work, and just as a team, it was crazy. Yeah.
And going as a favorite, is there pressure there or not?
I feel like there's been like some sort of pressure all year, so it's nothing new, but just a little bit. Yeah.
And I guess the question, everybody, we talked about it. We're going to have the coaches on later on. We're going to talk about it with them. But you guys beat them 78-37 in Richmond County to start the season. I know Paul McNeil was in street clothes watching, so he had just come back from California. But how do you guys avoid not being a little overconfident? Because it's hard to say one player is going to make a 41-point difference, even though they're going to be a lot more motivated this time. How do you guys keep your focus and don't go in, with a big head like the ring's halfway down my finger?
We know they've gotten a lot better as a team. It's late in the season. And then also it's the state championship. Like, you can't come into it with anything else but just trying to go play a good basketball game and win. So
yeah. Coach Lewis, you want to tell this young man something?
Well, I wanted to tell him, and also the audience, what a great sport that Sir Muhammad is. Sir, you'll remember the video highlight that we did on you. And during AAU season, Sir went down and dunked on someone. Instead of doing a head tap, he just walked back down and hustled back down on defense. On the flip side, another person dunked on Sir. The guy that dunked on Sir fell to the ground. The first thing Sir did was reach down and help the young man up.
Wow.
And just dunked on him. That was the most impressive thing I've seen from a young man in many, many years.
What made you do that?
That's just who I am, I guess. Yeah.
Sir, big game coming up. Obviously, you just had one against Isaiah Evans. I'm sure you've heard and everybody coming off a 62-point game, how great he was offensively. And to follow it up, you get this matchup with Paul McNeil. Just talk about your mentality going up against guys who are, ranked in the top 50 in the country in your class.
I guess I think I'm up there with them, so I just want to compete and just go out there and give my team a good chance to win every single time. So
it's like an AAU stop, like we're in like Atlanta or somewhere.
Yeah, we played a lot of good players. It's crazy.
What was it like growing up the son of an NBA player? Your dad played for a lot of teams, a lot of places. What was that like growing up?
I mean, it was cool. I'm always around basketball, always have been, through my dad, my uncle, everybody. So just a big basketball life always, I guess I'd say, yeah.
Not too many people can say Kevin Durant came to check them out. When did you find out about that, and what did the guys say?
Everybody was just super excited. It was cool. One of the greats coming to your game and watching you play. We were all super surprised when we saw him walked in. It was crazy. So
yeah. Did he say anything to you guys? He just walked in and waved?
Yeah, he just walked in, watched the game. We were in warm-ups already, so yeah, we were all locked in.
Was everybody like pointing at the KD up there?
Yeah, our student section went pretty crazy when he walked in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sir, I got one favor to ask of you.
All right.
You must beat Randall. Randall has this little win streak, and it's bothering me. He hasn't lost all season. That's bothering me.
It's called undefeated, sir.
No, it's not undefeated. He's had some ties, so it's bothering me. So Chelsea and Sammy are going to read questions. Chelsea's going to go first, and you had the first answer. There's one question on here you better get right.
I'm going to try.
All right. I got to play Randall's little theme music because I'm contractually obligated.
I'm Randall Clark. I am not Sam Griner. You will not beat me on the game show.
Chelsea Simple.
All right. The ACC tournament begins Tuesday. Which of these places has the tournament never been played in? A, the Omni, Atlanta, Georgia. B, the Smith Center, Chapel Hill. C, Reynolds Coliseum, Raleigh. Or D, St. Pete Times Forum, Tampa.
Sir, let's start off on a good foot. What you got?
Shoot. The Omni.
The Omni. What you got, Randall?
I'm going D, St. Pete Times Forum.
B, the Smith Center. We are still tied.
What?
Yeah.
I'll live with that.
I was wanting you to get off to a good start. I wanted you. Yeah. This is the one you cannot get wrong. Sammy.
Nazir Mohammed played for 8 teams in his NBA career. Which one of these did he not play for? A, Miami Heat. B, Philadelphia 76ers. C, San Antonio Spurs. D, Detroit Pistons.
Randall.
He thinks he's slick because he's making me answer this question first, too. He really wants me to lose that bad. A, the Miami Heat.
What you got, sir?
A.
That's correct. I thought I was going to start
You forget Nas is one of my clients, too. I didn't just train his son. I trained dad, too.
I thought I was going to get you with that. I didn't say dad, but I thought I was going to get you with that one because the Heat sounds like a team he would play for. I thought I had you. All right, so we're still goose going into question 3 of 5. Chelsea.
All right. Chick-fil-A is the most popular restaurant chain among teens according to Piper Sandler's semi-annual Gen Z survey. Which spot was number 2? A, Starbucks, B, McDonald's, C, Chipotle, or D, Olive Garden?
Sir, what you got?
I'm going to go with C.
Chipotle. What you got, Randall?
I'm going to go with A, Starbucks.
Randall has the lead somehow.
Yes, sir.
Sir, you come on, man. Come on, sir.
I just know I go to Chipotle.
And his son goes to Chipotle, too, so I'm actually surprised.
Yeah, my son lives in Chipotle. You ever with Kamani, you going to Chipotle. Drive me nuts, man. Or Chick-fil-A, one of the others, one of the two. All right. I lost my place. Sammy.
Okay. On Sunday, more NBA players wore this player's signature shoe than any other. Name him. A, Kobe Bryant. B, Paul George. C, Kevin Durant. D, LeBron James.
Randall.
A, Kobe Bryant.
Sir.
Kobe Bryant.
D, LeBron James.
What?
I refuse. You know. Nope, I refuse.
Sir, you're supposed to get that right.
I refuse.
I knew he was going to say Kobe. I knew he was going to say Kobe. Well, the best you can do is tie. So we're down to this tie stuff again. But come on, sir. You're first. Go, Chelsea.
According to the Thought Catalog, on average, what is the thing that Americans do 22 times per day? A, send a text. B, open the fridge. C, go to the bathroom. Or D, say hello to someone.
All right, sir.
Send a text.
Randall.
A, send a text.
The answer is B, open the fridge. So we have a tie.
Opening the fridge 22 times a day is wild.
22 times. It was wild. When I saw that, it was wild. 22 times a day. Sir, you I thought you were going to come through for me, but it's all good. It's all good. We're going to see you Saturday up in Chapel Hill. So best of luck to you, man. Have a great game. You got a big assignment guard. Paul McNeil is a great player. Best of luck to you and your teammates, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right.
That is one of the nicest high school basketball players.
Oh, man. That's how he is 24/7. It's wild.
That dude is.
Thanks. And I like with the question you ask him, why did he do it? And he goes, that's just who I am.
Yeah. He's just. Most guys would be really mad about that kind of thing, and he's just laid back down to earth. All right, the moment everybody's waiting for: who is the North Carolina girl and boys player of the year? All right, let's start with the girls. Randall, tell us about your 3 finalists and how hard was it to come to one?
It was really hard. I mean, obviously we take winning into account. We look at numbers. We look at who you played. And I think all these ladies checked a lot of boxes. They played tough competition. They led their team. Obviously, you got Kirsten and is still playing. So you're in the final. So it was this was one of the tougher years. I think in years past, last year, India Navarre, kind of a no-brainer. Sanaya Rivers a year before that, kind of a no-brainer. This year, it's I was back and forth a lot, and then it got even tougher.
Compatriots on here disagree with you for a little bit.
Huh?
Yeah, some of your compatriots on here disagree with you.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of people on here who are not happy with who I chose as my winner, and I'm okay with that. It kind of made me even more confident that I made the right decision with them arguing with me. But no, it was, to be honest, it really was a difficult decision, and it's not just me talking. But at the end of the day, when I look at the lady that I chose, they played a tough non-conference schedule. She won a lot of tough games.
Who was it, Randall? Stop with the dilly-dally. Who was it?
The winner of Miss Basketball 2023, Miss Sarah Strong from Grace Christian.
Y'all crap.
And 23 points a game, 14 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 blocks, 4 assists. I mean, she's 2 steals. She's an all-around stat stuffer. And she's a kid that you have to game plan for. She's gonna play inside. She's gonna play outside. You heard Coach McKenzie mention having to play her in the summer. She's just a really tough guard. And I think, the thing that sticks out to me is when you talk to the kids and they say, you ask them who's the best player you had to guard or who's the toughest person you have to guard. Especially when you talk to other forwards around the area, the first name that's going to come out their mouth is going to be Sarah Strong.
No, it shocked. I didn't really know who Sarah Strong was at the beginning of the season, but we had 5 of the best players in our coverage area all get together. And that question was asked, and 4 of them said Sarah Strong. And I was like, "Who's this Sarah Strong?" And then Randall started telling me. But it was Chelsea had a chance to sit down with Sarah last week. We're going to run that video for you. Here's Sarah Strong, Miss Basketball, North Carolina 2022-2023.
This week on Chelsea's World, I have Sarah Strong from Grace Christian Women's Basketball. So, Sarah, this past week, you guys won your 2nd consecutive state championship game. Kind of talk about the road, to that game and the final game itself.
Well, the whole season we were expecting to make it to the States. It was just pretty much the same thing as last year, just trying to get better and just everyone just do better than what they did last year and just show that we improved. And just kind of just trying to win the same as last year.
You guys went from 1A to 2A, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there any difference in the road between playoffs and getting to that state championship game, being in the 2A now?
Our conference wasn't really challenging, but it was kind of the same. But I think that also helped us and helped our other teammates gain confidence in their game and just figure out what they can do.
Absolutely. And Sarah, you absolutely dominate on the court. For those who don't know your game or your playing style, kind of describe who you are on the court.
I'll say a facilitator. I like to get my teammates involved. I can score when it's needed, and I think I'm a pretty good rebounder.
Absolutely. And Sarah, this completes your junior high school basketball season. Do you have any goals left for your senior year?
Just get better at shooting, get better at just conditioning, how high I can jump, and just get better overall so I can be ready for college and senior year.
And so Grace Christian is such a successful program. Kind of talk about what goes on in practices and what culture that coach really implements to make y'all so successful in games.
We do a lot of fundamental stuff in practice, just skill development and just trying to advance our game just so we can be better than the other people, and conditioning too. We do a lot of that.
Absolutely. And Sarah, you're nationally ranked. So first I want to know, when did you begin playing basketball?
It started when I was in Spain. I lived there because my parents played overseas.
Ooh, that's awesome. And I want to know, when did you really fall in love with basketball and kind of get an idea that this could be a big thing in your future?
Probably when I moved to the U.S. I started playing AAU with the boys teams, like with my dad's organization, and that's when I started to really like it and love it.
And finally, Sarah, before a big game, walk us through your pre-game trial. What do you do to get mentally and physically prepared?
First thing, I pray. I always pray before my games. I listen maybe to a calming song, maybe. Get stretched and just try to stay locked in.
Sounds good. Well, congratulations on your second state championship. I bet that's awesome.
Thank you.
And best of luck next season for senior year.
Thank you.
All right, let's say our strong Miss Basketball. She's the number 5 player in the country by ESPN. Her mom, Allison Feaster, is one of the best high school players in the state of South Carolina's history. She went to Chester High School. She was a number 5 pick in the WNBA draft out of Harvard. Her father, Danny Strong, played basketball at NC State. So, Randall, it's no wonder that this young lady's so good, right?
I mean, the funny part, and we watched that last week, and I missed it. The part where she's like, I can score when I want to, and she's being totally honest. Like, she is a facilitator. She's definitely a pass first kid. But if a game's close and it's winning time, like, she knows, like, all right, let me put the rest of these girls on my back and let's go get this thing done.
All right. On the boys' side, Rick, how tough was it with these 3 top 35 players nationally to pick one?
Well, it was difficult to narrow it down to 3, and there's no question the state of North Carolina has an overabundance of talent. And if you just look at the last 247 rankings for the class of 2024, we had 10 players ranked in the top 80. So to narrow it down to 3 was difficult, and every one of those players that was in the top 80 were all instrumental and had a lot of success for their team and led them to a team success. But at the end of it, we narrowed it down to Isaiah Evans, Jade Mustoff, and Drake Powell. Those were the 3. I thought those were the 3 that was the most instrumental in leading their team to a state championship contender. All the players had impressive resumes and instrumental success. But throughout the season, there was one player that sort of stood out with me and also made a big impact during the postseason play. This young man had 27 points average. He averaged 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks. He had a 62-point game during the state playoffs. His ability to single-handedly carry his team, not to mention he plays with confidence. He plays with a certain edge. He's a tough shot maker. And simply put, has the it factor. This year's Mr. Basketball is 6'7" junior Isaiah Evans of North Mecklenburg.
Props to the young man. I got some news for you guys. Breaking news. Duke has just offered Isaiah Evans 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
2 minutes ago, they offered Isaiah Evans. So I think in 2 minutes before we get off the air, he might be committed. I'm just saying.
That's actually so amazing.
Yeah. So they just offered him.
Kentucky
called about him this afternoon. Go ahead, Rick.
I want to preface something else, and this all the young men out there that play high school basketball. Listen to this. Isaiah Evans played JV basketball his freshman year. Played JV basketball. He stuck with the plan. He didn't deviate. He didn't pout because he didn't get the plea on the varsity his freshman year. And look where he is today. He's currently ranked number 10 in the country by 247 and just picked up a Duke offer by just playing it out and just believing in the process.
Pretty special. Well, guess who Sammy sat down with this week? Tell us about it, Sammy.
I actually interviewed Isaiah Evans. He is literally Mr. NBA here. He's amazing. And it was very hard trying to get him, trying to get a hold of him. And I finally did. And I think the interview went pretty well.
All right, let's drop that.
Hi, today we're here with Isaiah Evans on 5 News Sammy. Isaiah, can you please introduce yourself for us?
My name is Isaiah Evans. I go to North Mecklenburg High School. I'm 6'6" junior. Yeah, that's me.
And Isaiah, you are Mr. Famous here. You recently played Chambers, and the score was 105-92, and you guys advanced to the Final Four. You're truly NBA talent here. Tell me how you got yourself up to this kind of position.
Just waiting my turn, putting my time in. You know what I'm saying? Keep my head down, not really worrying about my peers and what they're doing, worrying about myself.
You just scored your career high 62 points against your rival Chambers. What does it mean to you to be able to achieve this against your biggest rival?
I mean, obviously it means a lot. You know, it was a crucial playoff game. You know, had to win to get to the Final Four. Sold out game. You know, obviously Chris Paul held that record for a long time, and he's well respected in the North Carolina area. So being able to, you know what I'm saying, win that game means a lot to me while scoring that many points.
Yeah, and you played on JV in ninth grade, but you recently were ranked number 10 in the country by 247 Sports. How hard did you work to get to the place you are now?
I work really hard, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like playing JV is not a bad thing, especially when you go somewhere like North Meck, who always has a good team. But at the same time, being on JV, having to play those older guys with a JV team, it helped me create that dog mentality, like, you know what I'm saying, just being able to go get a bucket, playing for like, you know what I'm saying, being in tough situations, because, you know, being on JV, playing against a varsity team, you know, that's tough. But it helped me kind of have that tougher playing style.
Are you planning on playing in college, and is there any certain team you'd like to play on, and what is your goal to be able to play on that team?
I do plan on playing college ball. I just want to play for a team that's gonna let me play my game. Is gonna play fast, high energy. You know what I'm saying? Really talkative, stuff like that.
Who are some NBA players you think your game is modeled around, or who do you think would be a good comparison for you that plays in the NBA right now?
I can't really tell you who I think my game is modeled after because, you know, I just focus on myself so much. But I feel like I like the Brandon Ingram and KD comparisons. I feel like some people it was just one comparison. Someone said I play like T Mac, and I really like that one. Like T Mac I feel like is a great comparison.
If Duke, UNC, and Kansas were your top three and you had to make a choice right now, who would it be and why?
Honestly, being able to play for any of those three teams would be a blessing. Just because, you know, everyone knows their track record, everyone knows they put guys in the league every year. So that would just be a blessing.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on to Five Mrs. Sammy. Isaiah, I really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Sammy tried to put the pressure on that last question. You had him squirming a little bit there, Sammy. No squirm. Sammy, I think you've done such a great job. You joined us in mid-season. You hit your stride. You learned from the best, Miss Chelsea above you. So can't wait for you to come back in the fall. You are coming back in the fall, right?
I am, yes.
So can't wait for you to come back in the fall and tell people how they can get on to 5 Minutes with Sammy and be featured on your spot.
To be on Five Mrs. Sammy, just text me on Instagram, Twitter. I will answer you. Always active.
You definitely are always active. Every time I come on, I got a new story for Miss Sammy Sin. Well, Sammy, thanks a lot. Have a good week, and we'll catch you in the fall.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. So we're going to do these boys basketball previews. We got coach versus coach. We got a special guest coming. I've been promising and teasing all day, but I got to play this ad first. All right, we're on the boys 1A final. Cam, we got Wilson Prep, Eastern Randolph, two hot teams. Devontae Brooks is having a monster year for Eastern Randolph. A guy that I don't think we mentioned at all this year. Wilson Prep's trying to win the second title in 3 years. What's going to happen in this one?
I mean, on paper, you look at this matchup, and I mean, Eastern Randolph would be the favorite. I mean, you mentioned Devontae Brooks. I mean, I was watching a little bit of his tape earlier this afternoon. I mean, he put it best. He is an absolute beast. 24, almost 12 rebounds. So, I mean, like I said, on paper, it's Eastern Randolph's to lose, but I mean, Wilson Prep does have three guys averaging double figures. They're really good on the defensive end, but I mean, it's hard to stop a team like Eastern Randolph who puts up 82 a game.
Yeah, somebody just gave us the unhappy face. We said something that upset somebody out there. Just, make a comment so I know what you're saying. Comments, I know what you're saying. Just put a comment down. And whatever you're looking at, make a comment so I can understand what you're mad about.
One thing, Lance, I want to mention about Wilson Prep, their coach.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're coached by Anthony Atkinson, who was a former Globetrotter, but also he played on that college team down in Eastern North Carolina Division III that had one of the greatest comebacks in college history when they were down like 10 points with less than a minute. But if you look at Wilson's Prep's record, and I want to make sure I quote all these right, they lost to Farmville Central twice, which
no harm in that.
How good Farmville Central is. They lost to Greenfield, which is another powerhouse in the eastern part of the state. They lost to 2 out-of-state teams that were very good, and also to Apex Friendship. And 4 of their top scorers are all juniors, and they have 1 senior. So I think when you look at Wilson's Prep, you look at their record, it's a little bit misleading because they did something a lot of other teams want to do. They wanted to play a very tough non-conference schedule to prepare them for the state championship run.
Yeah, now I think you're seeing more teams kind of adopt that mentality. It was kind of always a Charlotte thing, and now more teams are doing it and starting to kind of level the playing field a little bit. They're taking away the advantage Charlotte teams used to always have. This 2A final is really intriguing to me. I think it's one of the better finals of the day. Rick, I have to ask you, Farmville Central only lost 1 game, lost to Don Bosco Prep, and Dylan Harper is one of the best players in the country, and they lost like 79-74. It's on the screen. Why aren't they getting more national attention? And I'm stealing a little thunder from a man on Twitter, but why are they not getting more national attention?
I think they're just a small Eastern 2A school that they just don't get a lot of publicity on a national level. And you look at, like, for example, Larry Williford. I went back and looked at, he's won like 4 or 5 state championships. He won it in 2016, 2019, 2020, 2021, and he lost last year. It seems like, he's doing something right down in Eastern North Carolina, and it's about time that he gets the credit in the team of Farmville Central gets credit on a national level. To play in the John Wall in the game, and I was there, they played them very competitive. Right. And you know what? They only have the 1 senior, and they basically have, a lot of juniors, sophomores, and freshmen that also is a supporting cast.
And Chelsea, you did a story on Josh Short, so you know how good he is, right?
I know, he's a great player. I've watched him since pretty much his freshman year. And like Rick was talking about, that game against Don Bosco at the John Wall was just super fun to watch. And, it might be the 1 loss in their record, but it's not a bad loss at all.
All right, guys, they have a really tough game on Saturday. Reidsville has 2 young players, freshmen, a point guard and a big guy, kind of like a mini Kobe Shaq. Rick, what do you think there?
Well, the other thing that's unique about Reidsville, these 2 guys also play football, and they lost in the state championship. So they've been to a state championship before. Deontay Neal is probably the best point guard, is one of them, I should say, in the class of the freshman class in North Carolina. He's smaller, but he is super quick. He's heady, great basketball IQ. Keandre Harrison is 6'8". He's a load inside. He's already picked up a football offer from Alabama. But if that young man decides he wants to play college basketball, he'll probably be a high major prospect there too. What we have here is a team that are mirror each other in defensively. Both of them like the pressure defense. Both teams average 79 points a game. The thing for Farmville Central is they have 5 players that average in double figures. So they're a little bit more balanced, whereas Reidsville counts on the 2 freshmen more than anybody else.
Right. I think this week, Alex, in Chapel Hill, it's very rare when that top bowl gets fans in it during the state championship games. I think this week in Chapel Hill, that top bowl is going to see more than its fair share of action because the girls' games, the boys' games, all feature huge fan bases. Do you agree with me, first of all, and then what do you see in this game?
100+% agree. A landmark moment for North Carolina high school basketball in the state championships occurred in the Smith Center in 1992, and that's when West Charlotte defeated Kinston by 2 points, and the Kinston star was a junior named Jerry Stackhouse. That game was, at that point in time, arguably the most attended game, spectator-wise, in-state history, or one of them at the very least.
No, I was there, and it was packed.
And
I was there too.
And I think we're going to see something comparable to that. But to the point that Langston just made about the upper bowl getting its fair share of activity, you're dealing not only with looking back at that history that West Charlotte made in 1992, and then you move ahead to the 1998-99 season with the West Charlotte Lions, arguably the best public school team that we've ever seen in the state. And then you move ahead to this year with an opportunity for a Myers Park playing in a state trying to get a state championship for the first time in 57 years. The fan following that's going to come from 2400 Colony Drive as the Mustangs chase that same type of greatness that West Charlotte achieved. Richmond County, the whole county is going to come. We all know that. You remember when it was news when Raider football did not play in front of 10,000 people. It was news when they didn't have 10,000 fans. So you know the whole county is going to come.
I am parked 2 miles away from the Richmond Stadium because there's no parking. I had to walk all the way.
And that is believable. Reidsville, another great sports town. Obviously, we're very aware with the football tradition of which Deontay Neal and Keandre Harrison are part of already, even as ninth graders. So great dynamic in that town. You think back to when the Rams played in the Smith Center and won the 1994 3A state championship when C.C. Harrison, who went on to NC State, was the star of that team. Nay Brown, who played football at UNC, was the star of that team, was on that team as well. So you bring Reidsville into the mix there. Farmville Central, as Coach Lewis alluded to, with the 4 state championships and 5 double-figure scores, they're going to be there in full force. Panther Creek, like the Panther Creek girls, like we talked about earlier, Lake Norman girls with the run that they've had. So put all of those things together. 100+%. That bowl is going to see some action.
Who's winning this game, Alex?
I think Reidsville has not seen a team with the 5 double-figure scores that Farmville Central has. I think we're going to see something along the lines of what we saw in the 2004 NBA Finals, where Larry Williford will be content to let Keandre Harrison and Deontay Neal do a Shaq and Kobe kind of deal. Okay, we're going to let you get yours
and take everybody else away.
And then we're going to take everybody else out of the equation. And if Farmville Central can do that, Farmville Central with its 5 double-figure scores, in addition to Josh Short, who's 6'4" himself, you throw in J.D. Daniels, who's right in that 6'4" or so range, and then guards Alex Moore, Mikael Williams, and Jaden Pitt, all of whom who are those 3 other double-figure scorers who can force the tempo and get after you defensively. That's going to be a kind of team speed that Reidsville hasn't seen in the same way in terms of all 5 guys being speedy and double-figure scores. I think in the end, because of that, Farmville Central will get the job done this year. But once again, like we were talking earlier with the Seaforth girls,
better get them now.
You better get this Reidsville group now.
I got you.
Because the future is bright.
Future's bright. Rick Lewis, you have been talking about this game since November to something. You said it almost every show. Central Cabarrus is going to play Northwood. Central Cabarrus is going to play Northwood. Well, we got Central Cabarrus and Northwood, Rick. What's going to happen?
Well, it's going to be a very interesting game as far as tempo. You know, Central Cabarrus is going to want to speed Northwood up. You know, they average 88 points a game. Northwood averages about 68 points a game. Central Cabarrus, the thing about them is they rely so much on their pressure defense, and it's going to be up to Northwood to be able to handle the pressure. Now, they do have a good guard, a point guard in Fred Whitaker. They also have Drake Powell. The thing that can help Northwood out, they have a 7-footer, and they also have a 6'8" guy. So they got the height. If it becomes a half-court game, it's going to favor Northwood. If it's a transition game, up and down, fast tempo, it definitely favors Central Cabarrus. And you look at Central Cabarrus's starting lineup, they have 5 guys that average in double figures. Their 6-man average is like 9.8. So they almost have 6 guys that average in double figures.
Right.
But that's all predicated off of their press and their pressure defense, getting those easy transition points. Now, in the half court set, the one thing Northwood will do, they're going to come out and play a 1-3-1, and they're going to be really big
And
at
it's
the
long.
1-3-1.
I saw it. It's
Out
long.
at the top. And
Yeah.
you saw it when they played
Yeah.
Carmel.
Yeah, yeah. They forced a couple turnovers on my son because he didn't realize how long they were.
They're long. It's just going to be a situation who can control the tempo, and whoever can control the tempo or force tempo, the advantage there. But
now, Rick, you talk about size advantage, and Cam, you saw West Charlotte play Central in the semifinals. West Charlotte had 2 6'10" dudes, big size advantage, but Central, I don't know his name, but Central's 22 out rebounded West Charlotte's bigs, but he did a really good job. How were they able to rebound being so small? What are they doing?
Was that directed to me or Rick?
You, Cam. You saw him play the other day.
Okay. I mean, well, they double all of West Charlotte's big men. I mean, they put 2 guys on them. They box them out, and I mean, Central's very athletic. I mean, they might have a smaller lineup, but they are very athletic and can out rebound just because of their sheer athleticism.
Well, they do a great job when the shot goes up. They box out. They work on that, but they box out, but they all crash to boards. And the thing about it is, it's in their DNA. The way they're coached by Coach Baker, they just have the DNA that when the ball goes up, they're going for it. If there's a loose ball, they win those 50-50 basketballs. They just do. They just have that knack of out hustling you during the course of the game. It's going to be an interesting game. I've had these 2 teams, number 1 and number 2, all year long in the 3A, and it's going to be a great game, and it's going to be a fun game.
I think, Rick, it kind of comes down to, can Northwood not lose their cool? If Northwood can stay patient, slow down, and they play a little slower, but slow down and don't try to dribble. When you see the lane, it looks like you can go, and it's kind of a mirage that you can go, and you start going, you get trapped. They can just slow down and get it to the late stages, because if they get it to the late stages and they give Drake Powell the ball, you can't take it from him.
But that's the most important part right there. Drake Paul.
Mustaf was one of the best defenders in North Carolina. I might say the best defender, on-ball defender in North Carolina. He could not stop Powell.
He doesn't. Drake Powell doesn't turn the ball over.
Does not turn the ball over.
That's what it comes down to. If, like you said, that they slow the game down, but they just can't turn it over.
They got to get to the late rounds. They got to get to the late rounds.
They got to get to the late rounds. But the thing is, put the ball in Drake Powell's hands because he doesn't turn it over. And I think that's going to be
early because they'll be tired. I mean, you want to be able to give it to them third, fourth.
I understand that, but see the difference for Northwood is Northwood, like Coach Rick says, they're going to be able to see over the top of this zone. This is size that I don't know if Central Cabarrus has seen this year. So if they stay patient and don't let Central Cabarrus speed them up, and they use their height to just see over the zone, get to the half court, and execute their offense, as long as they don't turn the ball over, that's the biggest factor.
All right, Cam, West Charlotte can see over the top. What happened?
Central did what they do best, and that's turn people over. I dare say Powell has more than 3 turnovers. Central they're so fast. I mean, you don't even see one of the Daniel twins come up behind you and just rip it away from you. So you can be the best. You can have the best ball security, but the way they play, it forces quicker, irrational decisions, and they will turn you over.
I'll just say this, though. Drake Powell is one of the best big ball handlers I've seen this year. And if they can get to the late stages, close game, 3-5 either way, it favors Northwood. If Central Cabarrus has that double-digit lead as it gets to the third quarter, fourth quarter, Northwood's in trouble. But I think if they keep it close or have the lead and Drake Powell can control the game down the stretch, I think Northwood's going to win. So I think that's kind of how it comes down. But, Rick, you've been calling this game all year. Who's going to win this game? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I'm going with Central Cabarrus.
Central Cabarrus going 32-0. You heard it from the guru, the number one voice of high school basketball in North Carolina, calling an undefeated season and a first-day title in 23 years. That'd be quite a celebration for those guys. They would be 62-1 or something like that over 2 years. So that'd be
pretty impressive.
Very impressive run. All right, now it's time for the big game and what everybody's anticipating, looking forward to. Randall, going to come to you here. You had a chance to talk to both coaches. We're going to play that interview in just a second. Myers Park beat them 78-37 on November 22nd. I don't care what anybody says. That plays a role in this, does it not?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Because it's a state final game. the coaches at Myers Park are not going to let them, worry about that game way back in November. And the perfect example of it is this is a totally different team than back then. And so I think these kids are going to understand that, hey, we've gotten a lot better from November to now, and so have they. So I don't think they're going to.
Hold on, Randall. Mike Rick says it's not going to happen. Jaden had 13 rebounds. He's saying that Central Bears is not going to have a problem. But okay, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I mean, I just think because of the difference, from November to now, like you don't really pay too much attention to that. Like, yeah, we beat them. They didn't have Paul, and that's actually what everybody's talking about. Everybody's telling them, oh, Paul McNeil didn't play. Paul McNeil didn't play. Paul McNeil didn't play. I don't think they're worried about the first game. I think they just hear all the chatter about how Paul didn't play, and that's going to be the motivating factor for them.
So you think Myers Park gets reverse motivation? Rick, what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I honestly think that's what's going to happen. It's literally a repeat of what happened last week. It's literally a repeat of what happened last Saturday.
Rick, what do you think?
I think Myers Park is the best 4A team in the state. You got, 5 guys that are over 6'3" that start in the lineup. You got 3 high major kids. Elijah Strong has come on strong at the end of the year. He's playing phenomenal. They just have too much talent. I think they don't get enough credit. I think they're very well coached. Watching that game against North Mecklenburg.
You got 38 coaches over there. They should be well coached.
I was very impressed. They're so good in the half court. They're going to, they score efficiently in the half court. And the other thing, too, is they're very good defensively. I think if you look at Sir Muhammad, you mentioned Jaden Musoff as being one of the top defenders in the state.
Yeah.
I would put Sir Muhammad and Bishop Boswell second and third probably on that list.
I wouldn't argue that.
They're very good defensively. They have the size, and I just think, it's Myers Park to lose. I'm going Myers Park by 10 plus.
Alex, neither one of these teams won a state championship. Myers Park's 0-2, Richmond's 0-3. Why is Richmond County going to be 1-3 after Saturday, or do you think they will?
Well, this is too difficult of a game to predict, and I'll tell you why. We've discussed how both of these teams are completely different teams from that November game. And beyond Paul McNeil, I'd like to mention a number of X factors for Richmond. Number one, Julian Cole, the 6'4" junior wing, has taken his game to another level. His ability to hit three-pointers in the half court and his explosiveness in the open court provides a Scottie Pippen-like dimension to this Richmond team. Also, along with Julian Cole, you have a bevy of guards, whether we're talking juniors, Javian Drake and Jamarian Wall. Jamarian Wall had 3 big three-pointers in the fourth quarter in the Raiders' state semifinal win over Holly Springs last Saturday. Javian Drake is a steady ball handler who also can hit the open shots and create opportunities with dribble drive penetration to draw defenders and kick the ball out for his open shooters. Jaden Hamilton is a 9th grader who has averaged just over 5 points a game for the Raiders this year. He's essentially a sophomore level player at this point in the game. So the emergence of Cole, Drake, Hamilton, and Jamarian Wall, and particularly Wall as an X factor like he was in the fourth quarter, has made this a completely different Richmond team. That being said, I will also acknowledge that, as we know, basketball is about matchups, and this game is a formidable matchup for Richmond County. And yes, I know Cam's going to laugh at me for this. I'm going to make the 98-99 West Charlotte reference once again. that West Charlotte beat Laney 84-67 in the 1999 state.
It wasn't that close, Alex.
It was a 17-point game in the end because Coach Gosnell White pulled all his starters.
That was a 30-point blowout. That game was never
pulled all his starters. Had he not pulled his starters, Jason Parker would have broken the single game scoring record at the time. But
Jason Parker dunked the ball so hard that the rim was vibrating 2 quarters later. That game was not close.
But I say all that just to say that this situation on Saturday might be one of those situations where one certain outcome is not at all a commentary on Richmond County, but rather a commentary on Myers Park. And everyone knows what I mean by that. So let's just sit down and enjoy the game, enjoy how these teams have grown since their November meeting, and enjoy how they're both going to represent two proud communities very, very well, who are going to come out in full force. Richmond, having been in the state final, the last time in the state final when Coach Donald Pettigrew played for the Raiders.
Yes.
Myers Park, looking for some history in 1957, and 2400 Colony Drive is going to be out in full force. So you'll see green there. You'll see the green from 838 US Highway 1 North in Rockingham. So let's just sit back and enjoy this.
Well, I hear all that. And the reason why I'm so glad we have Gary Richmond on the show is because everybody else wants to like serve out these platitudes and niceties and all of that. Gary, what's going to happen when Myers Park plays Richmond County and Chapel Hill?
It is going to be a blowout.
Ooh, talk to him, Coach Richmond.
Plain and simple.
Hey, Richmond County, do y'all have a video guy that makes clips?
It will be a blowout. After what I saw Myers Park do to North Meck on Saturday, I am convinced, because they play a total team game. I mean, they're not dependent on one player, two players. They put 5 players on the floor that can score, and they just go through their sets. And, you know, if you double somebody, they know how to hit the open man. They rotate the ball from side to side. They just play good basketball. They look like a small college team.
Not a small,
well, not necessarily.
They look like a mid-major
college team. A mid-major, exactly.
No, they're very, very impressive. We got a chance to hear from both coaches, and on the backside of this, we're going to have coach versus coach. We got some good topics. We're going to play this and come back with coach versus coach.
Coach, coming into the state championship, you guys are playing with a lot of confidence, and you got all the motivation in the world. Now, the one thing about it is you played Richmond early in the year and beat them pretty handily. How difficult will it be going into the locker room in this week in preparation to make sure the kids don't get too overconfident by looking at the early season score and outcome?
To be honest, not a bit. I haven't worried about that at all. 2 parts to that. I trust our kids. Our kids know that it doesn't matter if it was Holly Springs or Richmond, or it could have been, Durham Jordan and anybody else that came from over there. You're playing for a state championship. It's whether you played them or not, the chance to be able to go to Chapel Hill and finish off our season in that regard for the first time for Myers Park. I don't worry about their approach to that. And you guys are going to help us a little bit because everybody in Richmond County is happy to remind us that Paul didn't play that first game. We've heard plenty about it. We heard about it that night because he had just gotten back to school that day. And to be honest, that was the reason we scheduled the game. I wanted the game that first year against them. And also, I mean, now AC Reynolds was a good one for us. It was a good one for them. But we had Paul and Raquise Passmore, 2 top players in that class. And both of them have been high seeds in the playoffs. They were great for us to play out of conference. So we're excited about it. I mean, it's the first game of the year. They will present totally different challenges than they did that night. I've watched a little bit of that game this morning, and man, we were excited to play. They were excited to play, but I think you got 2 totally different teams than you had that day back in November. I don't think that the game necessarily looks anything like that game that was played then. And you got 2 teams that are representative of really, really proud, tradition-rich communities that are going to be excited to play that night. And I really don't think that leads much into it for our young guys. If it does, then honestly, we're probably not as mentally tough and prepared to be in this position as I thought we were, and I just don't believe that's the case.
I just want to talk to you a little bit. You played Myers Park earlier this season. You guys lost 78-37. Is there special motivation coming in? Obviously this being the state championship, but also the revenge factor of getting to play this team for the second time this season.
Well, man, and I we go back and we about to break down film now. The coaches from the first game. Our first 3 minutes was amazing, and it was coming down. We weren't knocking down shots, and we got down on ourselves, man. But and I told the guys end of the game, I said, man, listen, we're gonna see them again, and we just had that feeling that we're gonna be here and they're gonna be there, man. So we just gotta, So, we're gonna be fine. Just gotta play our game, man. And I know they got better, and we done got better. So it's gonna be fun, man. And we're ready to play. We're ready for the challenge. We're ready for the challenge for Saturday.
One last thing, Coach. You guys average about 80 points a game, so you guys like to use a lot of pressure defense and push the ball up the court. So I imagine you're not going to change anything as far as your tempo of the game.
No, we don't. We're not. But we're gonna be more precise, man, and hopefully, so we knock down shots. But if we don't, let's try to stay in the rim. Our coach saying we're gonna miss shots, stay in the rim. Don't get that too down on yourself. The first time we played, man, we weren't knocking down shots, and guys holding their heads down, man. And I can tell it's part of the game. You still got to play, on the defensive end. And the last few weeks, man, defensively we were playing pretty good, man, and trying to be physical, man. And like I said, man, it's a big challenge for us, man. But we're gonna be ready for the challenge.
All right, time for coach versus coach. Let's get started. All right, Gary, so I'll start with you. We know that games are packed Saturday. What should the NCHSAA do about regionals next season to accommodate for that?
Well, the first thing they need to do is to send out an email to the membership and let them know what they plan on doing and make sure they have their permission. And then they need to, hopefully the membership will say, yes, we want to go back to doing it the way we used to. And then they need to go about securing college gymnasiums for the regionals next year.
Randall.
I agree. I mean, we saw it at multiple sites on Saturday. These high school gyms just aren't big enough. There's no big enough gym to hold all these fans. And, especially, you look on the 4A side, we got a great chance to have those same matchups next year. So let's get ahead of this thing. Let's, Bojangles, UNC Charlotte, there are other colleges around the area. Let's try to get the one of those gyms locked in early enough to where we don't have to run into this problem again.
And Randall, the NCHSAA usually alternates sites each year. So 4A would have been in Raleigh. Were they right to stay in Chapel Hill?
Now, they did get this decision right. I think when you look at the teams that are playing and you look at the fan bases, like we talked about, Chapel Hill is going to be – the Dean Dome is going to be rocking on Saturday. There's going to be several games that people have to go sit in that upper bowl. So I do agree with that because, specifically looking at that Richmond County Myers Park game, I was scratching my head saying, how are we going to fit all these people into Reynolds? And I was so glad to wake up Sunday morning and realize we didn't have to worry about going over there.
Gary.
Yeah, exactly. Myers Park is the biggest school in the state. So they have almost 4,000 students, and I guarantee you at least 3,000 of them are going to the game. Now, if you say they take a parent and then you also have other fans from the West go, you need an arena that is going to fill, be able to hold that massive crowd that's going to show up in Chapel Hill. And Richmond County travels. They have a history of supporting Richmond County athletics. So they haven't been that successful in football lately. So now they have basketball and they have a rapid fan base. So I think that was the right decision, given the two teams that were in the finals. I think they did something smart for once and say, well, let's see who's going to play first, as opposed to just automatically predetermining which classification was going to play where.
And Gary, to all the young people who are making highlights, controlling social media, doing all those clips, should they be recognized as media personnel?
Yes, because they're bringing a lot of people to the games. That's the least that the state or the school should do is if you have someone who's generating a lot of free publicity and generating revenue for the schools because their social media posts are encouraging people to come to the game, then the least you could do is let them come in free and have a seat with the media because they're the ones that are generating that interest. So, yeah, they should be seen as media.
There has to be a process, though. You can't just have a camera and say I'm media. I think there are some schools that have done a great job in this. There are some schools that just incorporate the media, the social media people in just like you do a team manager. And I think that's awesome. That way they're with the team all the time, post game, pre game, before practice, after practice, and I think that in situations like that, I think they should be included as the team, not just, hey, I'm shooting for, this team. I think that as a coach, if you have somebody at your school that's willing to do that and do it for free, I think they should definitely be included in the media.
And as Randall said, like like a manager. Well, by them being a part of the team staff, I think is what he's saying.
Yeah.
So then before they post things, it can be approved by somebody in the administration as well.
So, and they're part of it, so you don't have to, there's no confusion about, oh, I'm with this team, I'm with that team,
right?
In that regard.
All right, well, another interesting night of talk, coach versus coach. I'm gonna want to get you guys' thoughts on that last topic in just a second, but I've been promising a special guest all night long, and I'm gonna bring him on now. We got the guru, the number one voice of high school football, Chris Hughes, who has a special message. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, this is for you, Chelsea. It's been about almost 4 years, I guess, since you was a very young and I guess a very raw talent trying to make a name for yourself in this world of high school sports and high school media. And just to watch, even though I'm more prevalent during football season, don't think that I'm not watching what you're doing every week and seeing the interviews you guys do and checking out the show. And it just makes me proud to see where you've come, and just a night and day difference from 2-3 years ago to what you're doing today. And I was just really proud of you and just wanted to come on here. Langston told me this was going to be the last show of the year. And, I just thought I had to come on here and kind of give you a proper send off and, tell you that it's my pleasure to kind of be the one that kind of got you through the ropes and found you a few years ago and then kind of helped get you started in this business. And, I know you're going to Carolina, and I'm looking forward to what the future's holding for you.
Thank you so much, Chris. You got me started, and I appreciate you so much for that.
Chelsea, you've been awesome with us for 2 years. Following Kenzie, Kenzie was so good. I told Chris, I said, I'm scared to death to bring anybody else on because Kenzie was like a pro, and you're like a pro. You've come so far since you've been with us, and I wish you the best of luck. I was so excited when you got into Chapel Hill because I know that's where you really wanted to go, and I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully I get a chance to meet. I've never met
me neither
in person, so hopefully Saturday, if you come to Chapel Hill, you and your dad.
I think I'll be there Saturday, probably for 2:30 in the 4A game. So
right, cool.
I'll text you, Langston.
Absolutely. All right, well, Chelsea, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for being with us. Good luck in school. Stay in touch.
Thank you all so much.
All right, take care.
Bye, Chelsea. Good luck.
Bye, y'all.
Take care.
That's Chelsea Simple, man. She's great. All right, Guru, since I got you, I'm going to put you to work. You saw the question. Should the people – wrong question. Should the teenagers and the young people shooting those media clips be seen as traditional media, get media passes and media privileges? What do you think?
I'm going to say yes and no, but predominantly no. But I'm going to say yes with the caveat of kind of how you guys put, if they're part of the team, part of the team media, part of the team entourage, if they are somehow or the other affiliated with the team. And you know what? These schools, you're smart enough. If you've got some hot guy out there or hot girl out there putting together these clips, if you've got somebody that's really good and that's promoting your program, get them part of your program, get them part of the school, make them official and let them tag along and be a part of it. But should these guys, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, I don't know what they are, be allowed to be out there and on the press row and things like that? Probably not. Not because they don't deserve to be so, but, I think that's a little bit of a different world. And, they're there doing one particular thing. But absolutely, if give them a chance to be out there and be a part of the show, I say let them, but again, kind of with a little bit of overwatch and oversight from the administration or the coach or somebody.
All right, well, there's the Guru. Chris, thanks for coming on, man. We'll catch you in the fall, I hope.
We'll see.
I'm going to have to talk you into it again. All right, my man. Good luck to you. That's my good friend Chris Hughes. I've known him for a lot of years. All right, so he thinks that the guys that are associated with the teams, like Chambers, media guy, should get the media pass. What about the guys who just go to games and have the Instagram accounts and do the highlight videos? Should they get it, Rick? Should they be allowed to be media, sit on the bench, sit on the sidelines? What do you think?
Probably not. I think you have to have some parameters and guidelines. We face the same thing when we host our scholastic events. The one thing that we look for is if the person who's doing it has a website, and if they have a website, we will then say they have a media. You get so many requests. I mean, we get 35 to 40 requests from people who want to do a little highlight.
Right.
Just 14, 15-year-old young men or women that want to come to our game and do that. And you just physically can't do that, because if you did, you'd have a whole baseline of nothing but these people just doing videotape at the baseline.
Yeah, Kim.
And one more thing, like, I think there are certain people that have earned the right to do that. If Shot Makers wants to come to your gym to film, like Coach Rick,
he got 10,000 followers on
yeah,
Instagram.
exactly. Like they've earned that right.
Right.
And so I think I think in some situations, like he said, like they have the following to where, you are media.
I think. Well, Cam, tell us about the experience you had when you got pushed up the baseline.
Yeah, the first North Mech and Chambers game at North Mech, it was max capacity crowd and everything. But I mean, I get in there and I'm gonna stand on the baseline like I do it 95% of the games, and I'm told by a resource officer that I can't stand there because it's already filled up. And I mean, I'm looking at all these people with cameras, and I was talking to a few of them, and one person was there. He's a 16-year-old student at Cox Mill just shooting clips. And I'm like, well, what is your purpose here?
Well, that kind of goes to the comment we had from Chris Williams. If you can just let anybody in and everybody's media and everybody gets a free ticket. I think like they can't go to the ACC tournament tomorrow because you had to get a media pass. High school is a little bit different. I think high school is going to have to come up with some policies, and it's just another thing athletic directors have to do, unfortunately. But some policies to handle that. Alex, you're an administrator. What would be a good way to handle this?
Yes. Okay. First off, I'd like to point out that the North Carolina High School Athletic Association has implemented a new policy this year for media credentialing at championship events, which will continue into the future, by which those classified as media are required to complete a background check, which is a very, very good safety mechanism. We can talk about that later. But what I would like to say now, speaking as an administrator and speaking as a journalist, the prevailing question here is, what value are you bringing to education-based athletics? And what do I mean by that? Take someone like everybody on this panel right here. Everybody on this panel has done tremendous work in documenting, telling, sharing the stories of the formative mission and triumphs of education-based athletics as represented by our young people and wonderful educator coaches. That is the value that can be derived. You're deriving value from those same bona fide credentialed journalists who tell the stories of historic on-court pursuits, on-field pursuits and achievements by student athletes who also return in manifold ways as exemplary scholars and citizens within their communities, thus generating human interest content as well, but ultimately content that documents the prevailing formative educational teaching and learning mission of education-based athletics. That's the value to be derived. So if you can answer that question, then you can be in a position to be credentialed. If you're just in there shooting clips for who knows what, then I have to ask, who are you and what is your prevailing purpose, or what is your prevailing intention and means by which you seek to contribute to the formative mission of education-based athletics.
Yeah.
People who are shooting these clips just for the sake of shooting clips to get a free ticket and stand on a baseline.
No, it's not just for the sake of shooting clips. They're making money. They're charging.
Effectively being a poser and making money off of kids and not contributing to the formative mission of education-based athletics does not warrant you standing as bona fide credential media.
I'm not against making money. I mean, media, we make money too, so I'm not going to sit there and be hypocritical, Gary. But I think the association policy is great. But what we're seeing in high schools is these kids are coming in, they're getting in, and they're on the sidelines, and they all have a camera. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know.
Well, you should have to be able to get a credential to be on the baseline, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And that credential, part of that should be for liability purposes, where you consent to understand that if you get run over on the baseline, the school is not responsible for your injury. So that's part of it, is the liability process. So I think you should go through a credential process, and I think the process should begin at the start of the season and not just for the big game.
Mm.
You know, that tends to be what happens. Is a person's like, well, I want to cover the North Mac Chambers game. Well,
or I can't get a ticket to the North Mac Chambers game.
Yeah, I can't get a ticket, but maybe if I cover it, I can get in. So that process needs to be, basketball practice typically starts November the 1st.
Yeah.
If you want to be credentialed to serve on the, to get a press pass, you need to fill out an application with not only the school, but probably the school system. But like you said, that's going to create work for somebody.
More work for somebody. But I think it's a problem that has to be addressed. I mean, I don't know where it's going, but I just see an exorbitant amount of young people with cameras shooting video at games. Again, I don't really have a good answer for it. I just think that something needs to be addressed. All right, Randall, your final thoughts for the season. We're going to take it out. It's on you.
It's been a great season, and I'm super excited for the state of North Carolina. The classes of 24, 25, and 26, we have some great young basketball talent that I'm going to look forward to watching in the years to come. I just want to take this time to thank all the other co-hosts, Coach Richmond, Alex, Coach Lewis, Cam, Sammy, and you, Langston, and Chelsea as well. Like, just thank you for being great every week and showing up. I've truly had a great time filming this show with you guys, and I can't wait for next basketball season already.
It'll be here before you know it. Well, Cam, you did 2 seasons like Gary. You did football and basketball, so you're a trooper, and Alex as well. So I just want to thank everybody. It's been a great season. We'll be back in the fall. We may do a spring show. I'm getting pressure to do a spring show. Some of my football guys. We'll definitely be back in the fall. We got some surprises coming up this fall, maybe some show format changes. That is Randall, the #1 trainer I know. That is Gary, my frat brother and friend. That is Alex, the contrarian. That is the guru, Rick Lewis, the #1 voice of high school basketball in North Carolina. You saw the #1 voice of football just a second ago. We got them both on our show. I'm going to beg Chris to come back this fall. And Cameron to get the guru in training. I'm Langston. We are Talking Preps. We'll see you next year.
Thank you.